Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Energy and Environment. Minister, given your recent remarks in the media about developing a comprehensive plastics policy and the fact that New South Wales is the second highest per capita waste producer in the world, what is your timeline for delivery of this policy and how can communities contribute to that policy?
Well, Minister, isn't it good to get a sensible question in this place, Mr Speaker? And what a great question from a great member. And Mr Speaker, it's such a great question, it might as well be a Dixer. It might as well be a Dixer, Mr Speaker, because as the member for Ballina knows, no government has done more to reduce the impact of plastic litter in the history of this state than the New South Wales Nationals Coalition government. Mr Speaker, Liberals Nationals government, Mr Speaker. I'm just getting so excited about the impact we're having on reducing plastic in this state, Mr Speaker. And Mr Speaker, don't take my word for the fact that we're doing a great job in reducing litter in New South Wales, Mr Speaker. Take the word of one of the country's greatest environmentalists, Jeff Angel. Jeff Angel from the Boomerang Alliance. And I happen to have a press release here from Jeff Angel, conveniently for this question, where Mr Angel says, New South Wales got it right with a world-class scheme that will continue to deliver environmental, social and economic gains for years to come, Mr Speaker. And while the Labor Party virtue signals about reducing plastic waste on our environment, the Coalition delivers. The Coalition delivers with the most comprehensive litter reduction scheme in the nation's history. And what can I say, Madam Speaker? The proof is in the pudding. We've seen a 37% reduction in the volume of plastic litter since we introduced the scheme 19 months ago. That's a huge win for our environment. Over 2 billion cans, bottles and plastic containers collected, not going into our lakes, not going to our waterways, not going to our bushland, not going to our parklands. So it's a huge win for our environment, Mr Speaker. And Mr Speaker, it's not just about the win for our environment, Mr Speaker. It's also delivering great wins for community groups right around New South Wales, whether they be schools, church groups, community organisations. It's meant over $44,000 has been raised going back into their important community work right across New South Wales. So this is a great result, not only for our environment, it's a great result for our community, and indeed, Mr Speaker, for the benefit of the member for Ballina, it's a great result for our economy, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, as I said, we're having a huge impact on our environment, but we know that there is more to do. And that's why, Mr Speaker, we're developing a comprehensive plastics strategy to deal with the issue of plastic waste in New South Wales more broadly than just containers. We know that plastic is having a devastating effect on our environment. We know that by 2050, it's predicted that there'll be more plastic in our oceans than there will be fish. That is clearly unacceptable. A recent report by the University of Newcastle recently found that people were ingesting over 2,000 bits of plastic every week. That's the equivalent of a credit card going into our systems every single week. Mr Speaker, in addition to that, we've seen research that predicts plastic ingestion will affect 99% of the world's seabird species by 2050. And we know that it's estimated that plastic kills over 100 million marine animals every year. The member for Ballina knows this, as do all of us on this side of the House, that this is clearly unacceptable. And that's why, Mr Speaker, we'll be developing a comprehensive plastics plan to deal with this issue in New South Wales. For the member for Ballina's benefit, that plan is currently underway. We know it's a big body of work, and I welcome the member for Ballina's interest in this topic, and I'd ask her to participate in the community consultation, which I hope will begin this year. So that work is currently underway. We'll be looking to consult broadly with affected stakeholders in our whole community. We want to make sure we get this right, not just for our environment, but for future generations. So, Mr Speaker, I thank the member for Ballina for her interest in this really important topic. It's a topic that needs to be addressed. It needs to be addressed not only for the benefit of our environment, but to ensure that we hand our planet back to our kids in a better state than we found it. And addressing plastics, whether they be single-use or other forms, is one way to do that. As I said, for the member for Ballina's benefit, the work is currently underway on developing this strategy. We'll be beginning, my hope is that we'll be beginning consultation this year, and I welcome members' input, whether they be from the member for Ballina's community or right around our electorates. Finally, I'll say it's great to see a member of the Greens actually interested in the environment, Mr. Speaker. I know, looking at the threatened species list in New South Wales, that environmentalists in the Greens are actually on that list. So I look forward to working for the member for Ballina and reading her press release supporting the government's direction immediately after question time.
Member for Manly.